Stelle is an engineer and pilot of unprecedented genius. She is most at home in her workshop, surrounded by a plethora of different tools, half-finished projects, and fully functional machines of engineering excellence. And when she isn't rooted on the ground in her workshop, you'll find her flying high above the bazaar in one of her many flying machines. Stelle is an engineering genius, a prodigy, but she has worked hard for what she has. Originally from Mere, possibly coming from the settlement Dylan on Mere, she was clearly a cut above the rest, and through her examples of incredible intellect, she was granted a full scholarship to the Airship Academy on the Bazaar. At the academy, she was the top of her studies, becoming known as a prodigy, excelling at everything she did, both as an airship engineer as well as pilot. She is now competing with the other classes of the Bazaar, using her flashes of genius, and hopes to overcome any obstacle in the Bazaar. Stelle has a few ways of playing, the most common of which is to manipulate her unique mechanic, altitude. Altitude is a hero stat that only Stelle has access to at present. By itself it does nothing, but Stelle has a number of items that increase, decrease, or enact upon your amount of altitude. As such, when building Stelle throughout your journey, you'll want to keep an eye on what altitude manipulation you have access to. If you have a lot of altitude generation, then you will want to look for items which excel when you have a lot of said altitude. But if you only have a little or moderate amount of altitude, then you'll want to try and find a balance, as Stelle has a number of cards that react to taking off, as in gaining altitude when you had none previously, landing, which is returning to 0 altitude when you had some before, or moving over a certain altitude number multiple times. Each of these builds can take a little while to come together though, both in the fight and the run itself. The more items you have manipulating your altitude, the quicker and more effective your build will be. Now I know that's pretty much true of any class, but for Stelle, because of how she needs to build or change her resource in order to compete, it's almost exponential. And then when you're in the fight itself, her altitude builds are not going to be insta-killing anyone. In fact, the longer a fight goes, typically the better it goes for Stelle. But you'll need to be careful going deep into the sandstorm, as she lacks access to much healing or shielding. To get the absolute maximum out of Stelle, you'll want an intellect not unlike hers. She is certainly the most difficult or challenging class that has been revealed so far. So if you like a brain teaser as you play games, or if you really want to show off your talent, then Stelle is ideal, as if you can balance your altitude perfectly, you can really take off like no other class. Don't worry though, there are certainly other options for playing Stelle that don't require you to have multiple degrees. These other options for Stelle include going for weapon builds, as she has access to a fair number of non-altitude requiring damage items, as well as damage buffing items, but you will mostly be looking to make use of her other archetypes, vehicles, and perhaps gear. Stelle's vehicles are making good use of Charge or Advance, the new mechanic which skips a number of seconds of an item's charge, allowing your build to fire off more quickly, as well as a number of ways to generate new vehicles, as Stelle is an engineer after all, and after having more vehicles, some of her tools will hit harder for you. It is quite a diverse way to play, lots of items that all interact well with one another, but the sweet spot will be out there somewhere. It's just up to you to find and build it. Stelle isn't quite as simple as the other classes though, as even if you are all in on a vehicle build, many of the vehicles either give or require altitude. You can choose to ignore that, but you will likely see more success if you at least try to play into the altitude that you accrue. Stelle might be more of a genius than any of us, but she can be exceptionally rewarding if you're willing to give her the time. Through her careful manipulation of intricate mechanics, she will have defeated all of those that stand against her before they even know they've lost, leaving them bewildered as she climbs higher and higher, soaring through the skies above the bazaar, as you soar up the ladder. Whoever you want to play or however you want to play them, I look forward to seeing you in the bazaar. I've been Stelle Greg, and I'll see you in the next class preview. Ciao.